All right, welcome in everybody to the CFB Nation All-America podcast brought to you by Twisted Tea. It's time to crack a Twisted Tea, Bill. I'm Bill Trocchi, senior editor at sportingnews.com, alongside Bill Bender, our lead college football writer at sportingnews.com. You can follow Bill on Twitter at BillBender92, and you can follow me at Bill Trocchi, and keep an eye on the main Sporting News account at Sporting News. Well, the college football world had its first earthquake, and it came in Tuscaloosa, Bill. And you like to say the season doesn't start until Alabama loses, so it's starting early this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, nobody expected that fourth quarter to go the way it did. You've got to give Texas credit. I mean, I'm so accustomed to writing it the other way when they scored on the Jermaine Burton touchdown in the right before the fourth quarter. I thought, okay, here we go. Yeah, I mean, you got to give Texas credit. I mean, this is one where we normally mock them. The Texas meter is not up tonight. Credit to the Longhorns. You got to give them, for that flurry of plays, and they'll be ranked. I think they'll be ranked number 3.
Really, number 3? Wow. Yeah, I think that's accurate for them. It was just a slugfest. It was a slugfest for what? 3 quarters. Defenses were pressuring the quarterbacks. There was a lot of punts. There was probably 7 or 8 punts by the end of the third quarter, 16-13. And then Texas stretched it out. And I thought the difference in the game, and it's a difference in a lot of games, was the quarterback play. And Quinn Ewers was better than Jalen Milroe. And when all was said and done, because the defenses were both very good. There's skill, there's talent, there's NFL people all over the place. But Texas's quarterback was superior.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. This is what we thought might have happened had he played the whole game last year. And, I think what was the stat? 3 of 5 on balls of 20 yards or more. We talked about that during the week. And they had an answer at quarterback. Alabama is going to have a lot of questions about their quarterback because Jalen Milroe could not break contain. He took too many sacks. They missed a wide open touchdown to Jace McClellan in the third quarter. I thought that was one of the turning points too. So I don't know. I mean, like the easy reaction, you'll see a lot written that the dynasty's over and those kind of things. I don't know that that's the case. I just know they've got a long road back to the playoff, and a lot of the old habits from last year struck back.
We got a comment here. Who do you think starts at quarterback for Bama next week?
They'll still start Jalen Milroe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they ease Buckner in a little more. Maybe they play Simpson. I guess like their long-term play is Julian Sane next year will be their guy, maybe. But I mean, when as a freshman stepped in and started all right away, Tua didn't do that. He would have to be on the Bryce Young level. I know one of the
Bryce Young didn't either.
Right. And I know one of the things peaking on Chartbeat for us right now is why is Arch Manning not starting at Texas? I'm sure some Alabama people were asking, why is Arch Manning not starting at Alabama after what they watched tonight?
Yeah, that's a good point. Milroe, he got in the habit of just tucking the ball after about 2 seconds. Didn't give his offensive line a chance. Give Texas's defensive line credit, but sometimes he was seeing ghosts a little bit, and he was tucking it a little early, sort of like Jaden Daniels did early last year for LSU. And he's a terrific runner, and he's always under control. He keeps his eyes downfield pretty well. He was very composed. I like that part of his game, and he's faster than you think. But he doesn't throw the nice deep ball that Ewers throws. And, Ewers got a lot of arm angles to him and everything. Like, he's fun to watch, and his deep ball is unique. I mean, he really drops it in the bucket, and he lets those guys run underneath it, especially when they have a step.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. So the big plays in the passing game were huge. I thought the pass to Jatavian Sanders after Alabama scored, it's a 50-yard pass to him. He connected on a few. And Texas even missed opportunities. I mean, the reality is, and it's an uncomfortable reality in Tuscaloosa, is that this could have been worse. It could have been much worse, I think. And Texas was the better team. All of the elite teams in college football right now, the ones that you would say they can make the playoff, with the exception of Ohio State, have outstanding quarterback play. And that's roping Penn State in there, and maybe even Georgia to some extent. But I mean, I've watched McCarthy, Jordan Travis, Quinn Ewers, Caleb Williams. Those guys are all playing at an elite level right now, and Alabama doesn't have that.
No, you're right. And that's going to be a key moving forward. And their offensive line, again, too. I mean, they didn't protect him like they needed to protect him. And Texas took control. And so, yeah, we feel our first earthquake. Big upset, and it's amazing. Alabama, that's the worst home loss under Nick Saban in 17 years. It was only 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, like
that's
I said,
the amazing thing. It was only 10 points.
Yeah, we're on to the Heisman winners that have won there and what it takes to win there. I mean, was Quinn Ewers like Heisman good? Yeah, he was good, but I don't know if I don't know. I just don't know where Alabama will go from here. I know that one of the things we've already written in our top 25 or top 133 for tomorrow is LSU Alabama. That's not the two SEC teams aren't going to the playoff after today. That's one thing that's clear. It's just a question of, is that one playoff team going to be Georgia or not?
Yeah, I mean, the three top teams in the SEC West have lost in the first 2 weeks of the season, right?
Right.
LSU, Texas A&M, and Alabama have a loss on September 9th.
Yeah, that hasn't happened in a long time. And like I said, with Florida State being where they're at, Texas and Florida State are going to be top 5 teams tomorrow, which is just, we didn't have that. But that's the reward for playing in these big games.
Right. And then, like you mentioned, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, one, maybe two of them will make the playoff. So the SEC is running out of spots quick. And like we said, it's only September 9th. But, it was fun day. There were more games besides the one in Tuscaloosa. Let's go and discuss a little bit of Mr. Coach Prime. They answered the bell again. Colorado 36, Nebraska 14. In Boulder. It was his first home game, and kind of a slow start for both teams. It was scoreless about 20 to 22 minutes into the game. Colorado finally broke through, I think, with a field goal with about 4 minutes to go in the half. But they put the foot on the gas in the second half, exploded out. 36-14 was the final. Nebraska scored a touchdown literally on the last play of the game. So it was 36-7 for, up until the very end. Shedeur Sanders, 31 for 42, 393 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, rushing touchdown. He's got 900 yards passing in 2 weeks against 2 Power 5 teams. He did take 7 sacks, but again, that's the part of his game that I like, Bill, is that he doesn't make a dangerous throw. He's got no interceptions for 2 weeks. And that's not a coincidence. He's willing to take the sack, especially today when he knew that Nebraska's offense wasn't really going to do anything. He's willing to take the sack. He's willing to throw the ball out of bounds. He is not going to put the ball in jeopardy. He'll throw a jump ball to Travis Hunter because he knows Travis Hunter is so good that he can get to it. But generally speaking, the way he protects the ball is it's really, really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, they outclassed Nebraska in every way. I didn't think this game would be this big of a blowout. I mean, they exposed that Jeff Sims turned the ball over too much. I mean, Shedeur Sanders, if we're doing like a Stroll Heisman poll, it'd be Caleb, Shedeur, Quinn Ewers, JJ McCarthy. I think that would be my 4 right now. And I mean, Sanders, in 2 weeks, if they beat Colorado State next week, which they will, they're going to play Oregon and USC. USC Colorado has the potential to be one of the most watched games of the year for the Pac-12 again. And it's because Shedeur Sanders is just making great decisions with the football at all times.
Interesting that he and his brother both got unsportsmanlike conduct penalties today. So Deion brought that up in the post game, said he was not happy about it. But Shedeur's comeback to him was, Dad, it was personal. Well, personal, echoing the theme of the week that Coach Prime was putting through everybody and all their press conferences and practices and pregame stuff. It's personal. It's personal. It's personal. So Deion said he did actually get a chuckle out of that. So in case you're wondering, Travis Hunter, 136 snaps today. I think that was down from last week. 69 on offense, 57 on defense. He had 3 catches for 73 yards. and he made 4 tackles, 1 pass breakup. Just came out here and there, but not really much. And he is just an unbelievable athlete. And if he continues to put up numbers. Now, we did have somebody in the press box for Sporting News. Alex Novick was there for us in Boulder, tracking everything that Travis Hunter did. And he watched him every play, and he was like, oh, he took that play off. He's resting on this play. He's a decoy on that play. So he figured out that, maybe he's pacing himself, and I don't know if that's an issue or not. I don't really have a problem with it, especially if he's away from the play. But, maybe he's learning from Dion how to pace yourself to be able to play that many snaps.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and obviously, and we've got a message. Yeah, I'd put Sam Hartman in there in the Heisman discussion as well, obviously.
Okay.
So that's a correction. That's fine. But I mean, he's not going to score a touchdown every play. We'll see if he can continue this pace throughout the entire season. It's a lot, but yeah, I mean,
he's scary as a wide receiver. He is so talented.
Yeah, and they've got those 2 difference makers, and they've got dudes, and they are unquestionably. They've been compared to, is he going to create the U at Miami? One of the things I'll say, through 2 weeks, they've created the coolest program in the country, the trendiest program in the country. And that's what Miami was for a decade. So it is an interesting phenomenon. It's only going to continue with the Big Noon kickoff being there next week.
Now, I asked somebody this afternoon, does this game, as much as it says about Colorado, does it say more about Nebraska, or does it say more about Colorado? Because I thought it said a lot about Nebraska.
No, they were bad. They're going to have a quarterback question. They never expected that. Matt Rule's finding out what every other coach that has taken that job has figured out, that it's not easy. I mean, you mentioned the 55-yard touchdown. That was nice, but he's done these makeovers before. You've got to be patient with him, but
the self-destruction is just brutal. It's like, dropping snaps that are right there and jumping off sides on 4th and 5 when the other team is going for it and giving them a first down and missing a field goal, like hit it, when it was still a game. I think it was still 0-0. They miss a field goal and, hit the upright. And it's just like, they just do it to themselves over and over and over. And Matt Rule has not changed that. Now, I gave him sort of a pass after 1 game where they self-destructed. Now it's 2 games. And, as great as Matt Rule's reputation, turning people around and everything, his record as a first-year coach at his 3 stops right now stands at 3-23.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the job. You blow it up first. So, it was not pretty. But again, I think this was more about Colorado and 2-0, and looking at a kind of predicting tomorrow, I got them at 20, and I think that's about right. So they're just going to keep climbing up the polls, and they'll probably be ranked around 18 after they beat Colorado State.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, if the over-under was 4, I would have bet the under before the season. So I hope no one has any receipts on that, but that's how I felt. I'm admitting it. Let's move to another the SEC West team that we talked about that lost, Texas A&M. Miami 48, Texas A&M 33 down in Miami. Extremely different from last year's A&M Miami game, 17-9. Texas A&M won in College Station. This year, Tyler Van Dyke threw for 374 yards and 5 touchdowns. Miami QB. Last year, he had 217 and no touchdowns. His wide receiver, Jacoby George, 5 catches for 94 yards and 3 touchdowns. Miami took a kickoff back for TD. Just a great performance for Miami. And I don't know, does the heat turn back up does the heat turn back up on Jimbo after this loss?
Well, I mean, the heat should be on the entire SEC right now. It's not, this is this conference that's dominated the sport. And yeah, this is another bad loss. I mean, other good teams have gone to Miami early in the season, have lost. I mean, Van Dyke was on fire early. It was one of those shootouts. It's a tough road game in theory because Miami will also be ranked. But yeah, I mean, it's going to circle that heat onto Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino and make this SEC West less about these super dramatic games and more about like who wants to stay off the hot seat. I mean, right now Lane Kiffin's 2-0, and they were struggling for a while against Tulane. So I they're not going to fire him, I don't think. I mean, it's a huge contract. It's over $90 million.
Hail Mississippi State. They're the first team to hand a Pac-12 team a loss. They beat Arizona in overtime on a play. They scored on their first possession of overtime, so they were ahead by 7. Arizona had a 4th and 10 from the 25-yard line on their possession. Jaden Delora scrambled, was tackled right at the 15-yard line. The call on the field was first down. They reviewed it. They ruled he was short. Game over. Mississippi State wins. Pac-12 finally has a loss. So that was an interesting evening result that we just had. So one other game I want to talk about, at least for the afternoon, Utah 20, Baylor 13. Utah, the Cam Rising did not play again. And Utah went on the road. They were down 13-6. They had to put together an 88-yard drive in the fourth quarter to tie it up with 2 minutes left. Then they got an interception and took the ball in and scored the game-winning touchdown with 17 seconds to go. 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes. Give Utah a lot of credit. They beat Florida. They beat Baylor on the road without their starting quarterback.
Yeah, that's huge. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter how ugly that game was. It was not a good game by them. But obviously, Utah's going to be in the mix. They definitely have a chance in this Pac-12 to keep pace with everybody else. And kind of, I think Kyle Whittingham likes it that way. Everybody's talking about Colorado. Everybody's going to talk about USC. Everybody's going to talk about DJU at Oregon State. Everybody's going to talk about Oregon. And they got out of Lubbock today. So, and here they are, 2-0. And I don't think too many people thought they could get through those 2 games without Cam Rising. And here they are, 2-0. Baylor, I thought that was a pass interference at the end of the game, but it wasn't, and they escaped. And
yes, I agree. I thought it was a pass interference.
It was, but Pac-12 just continues. I mean, Washington State might be ranked tomorrow.
Yeah, the other 2 Pac-12 results I wanted to talk about that nighttime. Oregon, 38-30 over Texas Tech, came from behind. Bo Nix did a great job. He had 2 touchdowns, 359 yards passing. Let me shut that off.
What happened?
We're talking about Bo Nix. Come on now. All right. And then the other Pac-12 result, Washington State took it to Wisconsin, upset there, and they won 31-22. Tanner Mordecai had just 1 touchdown pass for Wisconsin. Wisconsin, they were slow starters last week. They were slow starters this week. They couldn't come from behind. And it's just another example of the Pac-12 just putting together this unbelievable season right before they dissolve.
Right. And I think, like I said, I think Washington State will be ranked. Incredible. I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch a ton of that game. I'll probably watch that in the morning. But setback for Luke Fickell. I thought they could go out there and win. But anybody that's been around the Big Ten, Pac-12 is – Big Ten teams struggle out there. They always have. They always will. I've watched Michigan go out to Oregon and lose. I've watched Ohio State go out to UCLA and lose. And that's another interesting wrinkle for the new Big Ten. Granted, Washington State isn't one of those teams, but I'd venture to say that there aren't a lot of Big Ten teams that could go out to Washington right now and beat them.
No way. Let's touch on Notre Dame. We know we've got our Notre Dame listeners throughout the podcast. They faced their first test. They were sluggish early, and then they had the lightning delay or the weather delay for a while. Huge rainstorm. Everybody cleared out for about 45 minutes. Came back in, first play, Audric Estime, 80-yard touchdown run. Gave them a 10-0 lead. NC State went back and forth. End of the third quarter was 24-17. Still a game. And then Notre Dame flexed their muscles in the fourth quarter, pulled away. Sam Hartman ended up with 4 touchdown passes. Holden Stays, a tight end, 4 catches, 115 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Are they? So they got a weapon at tight end.
Yeah, that was the story. I mean, big plays in the passing game. Yep. Responded to NC State punching back a little bit, going into a tougher. NC State's 1-1, but that's a good win. And now they'll beat Central Michigan next week, and that sets up the big question, the Ohio State question. Ohio State fans still aren't happy up here. They won today. They honored Jim Tressel. He wore his split Youngstown and Ohio State vest, but and they threw the ball to Marvin Harrison. That's not rocket science for them. So, I think that's going to...
He did not finish with 2 catches for 18 yards this week.
Right. And we've had 2 huge games in 2 weeks, and that's the third one, Ohio State, Notre Dame. So, underdog won the first 2, and if Notre Dame will probably be an underdog in that game. Not by much, but I would say if they were setting the line now, in the line, our listeners, hopefully the line may be out. I'll guess that Ohio State will be like a 4.5-point favorite for that game.
In South Bend.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on Notre Dame to beat them. They haven't beat them in my lifetime. And I still think Ohio State will be ranked higher. They'll beat Western Kentucky next week. Yeah, it won't be a big line, though. I mean, last year it was a big line. I don't think it'll be a big one this year.
That's going to be fun. 2 weeks. 2 weeks away for that one. And just so Ohio State won 35-7. Michigan, coincidentally, also won 35-7. And then Penn State won 63-7 over Delaware. 3 of the Big Ten teams just kind of rolled through inferior opponents. So let's take a peek at next week. We talked about next week's tailgate. What tailgate would you like to be at? Last week we talked about Boulder. We talked about Tuscaloosa. Both of those turned out differently, but it would have been fun to be at both of those. Do you have a tailgate in mind for next week?
We'll see if the Big Ten can flip the script next week. I'd probably be in East Lansing. I think Michigan State, Washington. Washington eye-opening by beating them last year. Mm-hmm. This will be Michael Penix. It's a terrible schedule next week. I hate to sell it that way, but that's one of the big games. And, I think Penix, who's been around the Big Ten, people know about him, but I don't think even casual Big Ten fans know just how good he is. He had 2 100-yard receivers today. I think McMillan and Odunze they're the most unheralded 1-2 receiving tandem in the country. Washington's really good, and Michigan State's 2-0. So, Mel Tucker comes into focus next week, and that's a big spot game for the Big Ten.
Tough to find it. It's on Peacock at 5 o'clock Eastern. Not a good time slot, not a good channel, but it will be a good game. So we'll see about that. My tailgate, like you said, it's a underwhelming slate in week 3, to say the least. So the tailgate I would pick would be at Vanderbilt at UNLV, which is actually a tailgate that a bunch of my buddies are going out to. Fine to go this year. We always go to kind of one road game. I had commitments, and so I'm going to be here with you next week, going over the games and everything like that. But my buddies have been looking forward to this Vegas trip for a long time. I don't know that the Vanderbilt UNLV game will be very, very exciting, but I do think they will have fun around the weekend for sure. I know the Notre Dame fans enjoyed going out to Vegas last year when the Irish took on BYU. So, that's our quick look ahead to next week. Now, the Sad Saturday section does not have many Sad Saturdays in it this week. I could only find one that was a true Sad Saturday. James Madison, 36, Virginia, 35. James Madison drove 80 yards in the last 3 minutes, scored with 55 seconds left to win the game. Virginia led 35-24 with 10 minutes to go. So tough loss for Virginia whenever you lose to an in-state team that's not in the Power 5.
Yeah, I would go App. They had a chance to be the nation's darling again. They lose in double overtime. Heartbreaking loss for them. North Carolina survives. Another theme to watch in the top 25 tomorrow will be how many ACC teams are ranked, because Duke is ranked now. Clemson will stay ranked. North Carolina is ranked. Miami will join them, I think, based on their win. And and Florida State, of course. So they're going to have 5 ranked teams tomorrow. So good on the ACC, a conference that is looking to expand their horizons in the future. And so they're going to be in that. This is all things that are bad for Alabama, by the way.
Boston College almost landed in the Sad Saturday again 2 weeks in a row, but they held off Holy Cross. At the end, they had a 3-point lead. Holy Cross had the ball inside the BC 30 with a minute to go, down 3, and BC ended up with a strip sack to finish it off. But things aren't great for Jeff Hafley right now at BC. So, 2 Woe Nellies. You got some Woe Nellies for me? I can start off with my Woe Nellies. I got 2 Woe Nellies. One goes to North Carolina running back Omarion Hampton. He was the hero of that game. 234 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Drake Meme did not put up huge numbers, but Carolina really did well on the ground. And Hampton was the engine that made it work. And then my second Woe Nelly, Brandon Morrison, had a great interception of Brennan Armstrong in the Notre Dame NC State game along the sideline. Great coverage, difficult catch, kept his feet in. We talked about him preseason. We had a debate whether or not he should be first-team All-American with some other very qualified guys. And Morrison backed us up a little bit today with that play. It was really, really impressive.
Absolutely. He's really good, and they've got some difference makers on that side of the ball. I'm looking up the guy's name right now, so I know exactly who he is. As you know, I've been watching. My wife is at she's down in Charlotte for the Catholic News Conference. She worked a full day today, so I'm following picks. And Ole Miss, to clinch their cover today, they had a big man touchdown from Jared Ivey, and I was encouraged. I'll just say I was encouraging him to get in the end zone with some colorful language, and I forgot my daughter was in the living room, so I apologize for that. That was one, but good on him for getting in the end zone. It was, but he got in, and that was great. And then JT Daniels had over 400 yards passing today. The well-traveled JT Daniels led Rice past Houston.
Did Rice hang on? I haven't checked. Did Rice hang on?
Yeah. So it was Rice won. So Rice won that game, and that's going to be another team for that. So yeah, it was. Those were 2, but the big man touchdown was good. Tulane hung in there, by the way. They were in that game, and it was
Michael Pratt didn't play for him either.
Pratt didn't play, but they hung. And they were in that game. That's one of those scores that's going to look worse than it is. And my Woe Nelly right now is looking at the USC score. It's 42-3 before half. And let's see, Caleb is doing Caleb things.
It looks like Stanford will be the second Pac-12 team to have a loss.
Good Lord. And Florida State's up 66-13. Again, for the 8th time, bad for Bama, because those 2 look like they've got elite quarterback play. I don't know if Quinn Ewers is better than Jordan Travis or Caleb Williams, but he has the 5-star pedigree. He has the weapons around him, and he has a coach that had a good night tonight, and we'll get to that in a second.
So, by the way, for the second week in a row in our confidence contest, my 5-pointer, last week it was James Franklin covering on the last, play there. That was my 5-pointer. This one was, I had Oregon at 5 points.
There you go.
They kicked a field goal with like a minute to go up by 1, and then Texas Tech threw a desperation pick 6.
I'm going to stop picking the big game as my 5-pointer. I did not get Alabama right, so I think I'm going to have a winning record at Sporting News this week. I think I clinched I think I'm either going to be 10-6 or 9-7. So that's better than last week. Last week was a very big disaster.
Okay, all right. Well, very good. Before we get out of here, let's do a final Twisted Tea toast of the week. Do you have a toast of the week, Bill? We can show up at our little camp here.
There's a lot. I mean, you just got to give it to Texas in general. That's that program that people, like I said, were waiting. They had their memes ready. They had copy paste. Texas is back. Well, Fowler he didn't say it. When the Texas fans were chanting SEC, that was kind of cool. Steve Sarkisian had a brilliant night as a coach, being aggressive the whole night. I think he really showed all that talk he did in the summer. You could roll your eyes at it, but no, Texas is real. They're very real. They've got some room now, because if they get through the Big 12 with 1 loss, they could lose in the Big 12 at any time. You never know, right? And I just think that's the team worth toasting tonight.
All right, I'm going to toast. Last week I toasted Puddles, the Oregon Duck. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This week I'm toasting Akron for their turnover tire. Have you seen this?
No, but
they have a car tire, right? And so if you get a turnover, they put the tire around your neck. This big tire, like off a Jeep or something. Okay. And since they were so motivated by this turnover tire, they were down late to Morgan State. They had a scoop and score touchdown to win in the final minute.
Right.
And so the guy got the turnover tire. So there you go. So Akron Zips, get my
do you know why they have a tire in Akron?
They must be something to do with the auto industry in Akron.
The Goodyear plant. That's
Goodyear plant. So there must be a Goodyear tire around the guy's neck. So whatever it was, it inspired them for a scoop and score in the last minute. They won the game, Bill.
I could have got you with a Trocchi trivia. The Goodyear was founded there, and I've used to cover games in the Rubber Bowl of all places. So that's about all I'm going to say nice about Akron as an Ohio alum. By the way, the Bobcats beat Florida Atlantic today, so I'm happy about that.
There you go. So, all right, very good. Well, I think that'll do it for our second live show. Bill, appreciate you making time. You cranked out a Texas-Alabama reaction at sportingnews.com, and we are working on the 133 for sportingnews.com. So everybody who wants to check out everything that Bill's writing and everything we're putting together in the college football section, please visit the website. Thank you to everyone for listening to the CFB Nation All-America podcast, brought to you by Twisted Tea and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And for those of you watching on our YouTube channel, our loyal visitors here on the live show on Saturday nights, thank you to Irish Breakdown, your source for Notre Dame football. They'll be breaking down the NC State win all week. We'll be back throughout the week with more episodes, and don't forget to join us every night on the Saturday night for our live reaction show around 11:30 on our CFB Nation YouTube channel. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you soon.